am the shy person, which is probably why I encourage the video off and the mic off, because I'm always like, let me check myself.
Right.
Awesome. So we're at 101. We'll probably have a couple more attendees trickling in. So that's okay, because we'll have a couple introductions to get through before we get into the content. So I want to say welcome to, honestly, our first webinar for the series that we're doing this summer. So we're really pumped and excited to have you all here. My name is Michaela Tusberg. I work in the Office of Admissions and Recruitment. I'm actually a new hire, but I attended UW Stevens Point when I was an undergrad. So I'm excited to be back here, and yeah, so we'll get started. I will be kind of navigating the whole logistics of the meeting. I'll be navigating within the chat system. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in the public chat. We have some student peer mentors also in this meeting, and so they will be open to that private chat if you want a direct question and they can kind of field that. But really, we want to make sure that this presentation is something where you're gaining something from it. So feel free to ask those questions. We want to make sure that you take away what you were hoping to get from this presentation. And so I'm going to kick it off to Dylan. He's going to do his introduction, and then we'll kind of go around the room.
Oh gosh. Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Dylan Grippentrog. I actually recognize some of the names in here. I might have sent some of you messages because you were my STAR mentees. But my name is Dylan Grippentrog. I'm a senior here at UW Stevens Point studying political science and communication public relations with the minor in policy analysis and public administration. I like to say it's just big fancy words for I want to be president of the United States someday, or governor of Wisconsin. I'm willing to settle for that. So if you see my name on the ballot in like 2040, something like that, 2042, I don't know what the exact date is. Make sure you vote for me. I am the lead ambassador for interpersonal organization in our office, so I do all of the fun scheduling for all of our different visits. I'm also a peer mentor, so I get to help all of you kids register for classes, answer questions, and all of that fun stuff. So, Sierra, you're next.
Hello, I'm Sierra Kruger. Hi there to everyone that is on the chat or video right now. I'm an incoming senior studying social work and sociology with the double major. With that, I'm hoping to go into hospice care or work in the medical realm within social services. On campus, I've been involved with the Tutoring Learning Center. With that, I have done the LEAP peer mentoring program for the last 3 years, starting as a peer mentee and then working my way up to being a mentor for the past 2 years. Yeah, that's me. So Shawnee, do you want to take it off?
Sure, I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Shawnee Luft. I am the Associate Dean of General Education and Honors. I want to thank Michaela and Dylan and Sierra for being here and helping out, setting it all up. I really appreciate it. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am from Baltimore originally. I went to graduate school in Boston and in North Carolina. And then I lived in Ohio before I came to Wisconsin. When I arrived in Wisconsin in 2009, I'd moved to 5 states in 10 years. So staying in Wisconsin for 10 years, I've been very happy to be in one place, and I love this state and this university, so I'm very happy to be here. As the Associate Dean of Gen Ed and Honors, I get to have lots of conversations with incoming students. By the way, unless you have a reason not to, I would encourage you to turn on your video. I'm staring at a bunch of black boxes as if you're all in the witness protection program. So I'm assuming there are actual humans there. Oh, hi, people. This is already crazy enough with over Zoom. I'd much rather look at people than stare at my own blank screen. Hi, everybody. Oh, good. There really are human beings there. It's good to see you. So what I thought I would do is I run down some of the basic information about the honors program, maybe for about 10 minutes. I'll show you some pictures of some of the things we do, and then I'll open it up to questions. Sound good? All right, let me share my video. Hopefully this will give you some of the big picture questions. Wait, it's sharing the wrong slide. Hang on. There we go. This should be right. Is it showing me what it's not showing me what it's showing you? That weird thing about Zoom is it doesn't, here, let me Let me move this down, actually. Sometimes when I try to get it to I've got 3 different computers, screens hooked up to my computer. And so sometimes.
When I could see it, I could see a PowerPoint.
Oh, you could. It wasn't showing me that on my own screen. How funny. All right. All right, let me do that again. There we go. So you see the PowerPoint, it says, what's the University Honors Program?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, good. So here's the mission of the Honors Program. Thank you. It is to attract a group of students to UWSP who are interested in joining a student community based on intellectual curiosity and enrichment, to encourage undergraduate scholarly and creative activities. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, and to get students to participate in a culminating honors enrichment experience in your final year. Again, I'll talk about the specifics of what that looks like in just a sec. Oh, I should have mentioned this, by the way. The reason I chose my Pac-Man background, I have a green screen behind me, so I can set it to whatever I want. So I change it every day just to entertain myself or whoever is having to stare at me. I chose Pac-Man today because May 22nd was the 1980 was the first day Pac-Man was introduced in America. That was 40 years ago. So Pac-Man, I don't even know if you guys even know what Pac-Man is, but it's a very old game that I just thought looked cool in the background. All right, back to the honors program. So some of the benefits, you take classes with cohorts of other honor students. Last year, I did a poll of all of the honor students, asking them to rate what they liked best about the program. The thing that honor students told me they liked the best was being in classes with other honor students. And so that's something I want to start this off with by saying that students were sort of looking for experiences where they could interact with students who took their education seriously, who come to class prepared, who are really interested in thinking more deeply about the material. Sometimes I'll get calls from parents or from students because they're worried the honors program is going to be harder. I can tell you that the students who are in the program almost never tell me that the classes are too hard, meaning they're just overwhelmingly difficult. What students generally tell me is they get to think about the material more deeply. Honor students tend to be really curious and like to be challenged and think about ideas. And the honors program is a way to give students those opportunities. Honor students get more individualized experiences with professors. Honor students, the entire time they're in the program, will get priority registration. That means you get to register first in your class. So the reason you all registered for your classes a couple days ago was because you're in the honors program, and that meant you actually got to register before most of the other freshmen. Next semester, you'll get to register about a day or so before other second semester freshmen get to register, and that'll continue the whole time you're in the program. Honor students also get opportunities at certain kinds of honors social and service community programming. I'm going to be emailing you all, asking if you want to join a social and service committee to plan events for other honor students. So keep that in the back of your head if you might be interested in helping me with that. Honor students are also asked or encouraged to apply for an ambassadorship, which is a housing incentive. The honor students, about 300 honor students this year, about 25 of them, maybe 24, I think it's 24 actually, were selected as ambassadors, meaning they're going to work, do 5 hours of work in residential living, and also to promote campus events. They're going to be taking a 1-credit class with me this semester. That opportunity is only available to other honor students in a small cohort of them. And honor students get an honors designation on their transcript, as well as an honors insignia on your diploma. And you get recognized at commencement. In the commencement book, when you graduate, there's a indication of the sort of different kinds of colors students can wear, indicating their majors, their programs, their successes in school, and there's a color insignia that honor students get to wear to recognize them as at commencement. All right, I'll move on. Here's a picture. I just think this is a really cool picture. This is Honors Astronomy 100 with Dr. Derbala. There were not only 2 students in the class, it was just a picture that was taken of the class at the time, but she got to work closely with students. Students in the honors program are also taking general education classes. A lot of honors classes, but not all of them, will also count to the general education program. Astronomy 100 counts towards your natural science requirement. I've taken some screenshots here of the honors page. I can show you that web page later on if you're interested. This is a list of some of the other honors classes that we offer in each of the areas of the Gen Ed: written communication, oral, quantitative literacy. Not every Gen Ed category has an honors class, and not every class is an honors class. You have to look for that when you're searching for your classes. There's a special way that you can indicate in Access Point that you only wanted to bring up honors classes. I actually made a little 1-minute video on how to do that. I can show you that later. Some of the humanities classes that are in the honors program: reading fiction, intro to philosophy with my friend Chris Deem. I'm a professor of religion, so Chris is in my department with me. Religious Studies 100, Religions of Asia is an honors class. There's a bunch of natural science classes. I did some analysis last year of honors students. 50% of them are either natural science students or in a natural resource program that requires a lot of natural science classes. So there's a lot of natural science honors options like Bio 100 and 160, Chemistry 105 and 117. In natural science, there are a couple of classes that are not in the Gen Ed but will still count towards the honors program, like NRES 250 and Bio 210. So what are the requirements to stay in the program? What do you have to do? Well, first you have to complete a minimum of 12 credits in honors classes. Most honors classes, most classes I should say, are 3, 4, or 5 credits. There are 1 and 2 credit classes too. But the majority of the classes that you're going to take are 3 credits, or if there's a lab or a language requirement, it might be 4 or 5 credits. You need to take honors classes so that you complete 12 credits in the honors program. You're also going to complete a symposium or a capstone at the end of your senior year, or some kind of culminating activity that's in your college or your major. And you're going to be required to complete 1 other academic enrichment project. And I count all kinds of things as enrichment projects, such as you could do independent study with a professor. You can be in the university ambassador program that I talked about. You can work with a mentor to complete a service learning project. If you go study abroad, you don't have to do like a special honors study abroad. If you do a study abroad project, I'll count that as your enrichment activity. An internship on or off campus, acting as a peer mentor, or holding a leadership position in the student government, that can also count towards the honors program. I'm open to counting lots of other kinds of things. So if you aren't sure, or if you're interested in doing some kind of extra enrichment activity and you would think it should count for honors, please ask me. In fact, the reason study abroad is on here is last year an honors student emailed me and said, can I count my study abroad for honors? And I thought that's a fantastic idea. I hadn't thought of that. We're now going to count study abroad for honors. Honors students give me lots of good ideas and feedback, and I'm always happy to take them. Here's some pictures of previous, some of the events that honors students do. This was the first year of the program. Up in the right-hand corner there, you might be able to see the chancellor. That was his house. All the honor students got invited to his house to have hors d'oeuvres and to schmooze and to get to meet other students, to get to meet the chancellor and say hi. This is really fun, especially for people like Dylan who are interested in becoming president of the United States. We have to learn how to do some of that schmoozing. My experience with that is not every honor student wants to like go to a cocktail party and have a meatball on a toothpick to talk with the chancellor. They want to do other kinds of activities, and so I have been coming up with other kinds of events honor students can do. For example, when I discovered that there were so many biology and chemistry students in honors, I jumped on this opportunity. Dr. Lee Dugatkin last year came to our campus. He is an evolutionary biologist and historian of science. He wrote a book called How to Tame a Fox and Build a Dog, which I think is a fantastic name for a book. Basically, how do you turn a wild animal into a dog, into a tame animal? And so he wrote about the history of that, how we ended up with domestic pets. And he gave this talk to hundreds of biology students. I reached out to him and asked if he'd be interested in meeting with a select group of honor students just to talk about his research and answer their questions. About a dozen honor students took me up on that. So we got a room. We asked Lee to, we set up a time, and he spent about 45 minutes or an hour just talking to honor students about his research. It was a great opportunity for those students who are really interested in that kind of work. And this was last year. I mentioned that we had that fancy chancellor event at his house a couple years ago. Last year, I threw a bowling party instead. We got buses. We took the entire freshman class of honor students, that's all you guys, to the bowling alley. Last year, there were 100 honor students. This year, there are 300 honor students. We might need a couple more lanes. We got pizzas and sodas. The picture in the middle is the chancellor. I took a picture of him just as he hit a strike. You can see behind him all the pins being knocked down. And we just had a blast. It was just a fun way to get together. I'll stop sharing. To get to hang out with other honor students. We invited professors as well, and 4 or 5 of us professors took us up on it. We all just bowled and had fun together, just to get together and enjoy some company and relax and kind of blow off steam in November. So that's a little bit about the honors program. That's a little bit about the events and the requirements of the program. Now we'll open it up to questions. So Michaela, do you want people to type questions? Do you want people just to wave and ask questions? What's your preference?
I think I am super flexible, and I think our group is very flexible on that. I'll kind of point to the peer mentors. Did you guys have anything come up in the chat that you wanted to share, and then we kind of open it up?
Yeah, I had a couple. So Shawnee, is that 12 credit requirement for the honors program, is that each semester, or is that just before you graduate?
That's before graduation. So basically you have to do 12 credits in honors by the time you graduate. Most students do that in their freshman, sophomore year, and then the other 2 activities are junior, senior year.
Okay. So in other words, a roundabout way of kind of like getting clarification on this, you don't need to take an honors course each semester, technically? Right. Okay.
Right, you just need 12 over the course of your year. Some students get, in fact, I'd say the majority of honor students get the 12 credits done in their first year. It becomes like a freshman requirement or freshman expectation, but you're not required to. You could take 4 3-credit classes your first semester and get 4 honors classes done at once. That's not required. It's also not possible depending on your schedule to do that, but there's no requirement that you get it done in any semester or any year. You have 4 years to get those done.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Was there another question, Dylan?
So this question, is there a way to turn specifically, so let's say a student took like Religions 100, that's not necessarily an honors course. Is there a way to turn that into an honors course, or is that separate type of stuff?
It's usually not. So usually with an honors course, the professor knows ahead of time that either the entire class is honor students or a portion of the class is honor students, and that professor will work with that group of students to develop activities and have a slightly set of different expectations for those students. Sometimes honor students, for example, might give presentations to the class. They might meet with the professor one-on-one and do research. Different professors have different expectations. We give professors a lot of flexibility as to what their honors requirements are. But you can't do this retroactively once the class has started, especially once it's finished.
For sure. Thank you.
Good question.
Awesome. I don't know if the peer mentors have any other questions, but I think we can open it up. I would love to hear your voices if you're comfortable with that. We could either raise your hand and I can point you out in the group and just have you that talking floor, or feel free to utilize the public chat or private message, either Shawnee himself or a peer mentor, myself, whatever you're comfortable with. But we wanted to make sure that we get your answers or your questions answered before you leave today.
As you're typing or thinking about it, I realized there is one other thing I should add to that PowerPoint is there is a GPA expectation for honor students, and it's a little bit complicated. The easiest way to say it is you have to graduate with a 3.5, right? So you have to have a 3.5 GPA by the time you graduate to have officially finished the honors program. That's not obviously hard to understand. The part where this gets a little more complicated is it is theoretically possible that if your GPA your first year is a 1.3, you could get straight A's the next 4 years and not actually be able to get to 3.5. So there is kind of the honors program has a sort of kind of graded GPA expectation. I usually just say to students, you have to have a 3.5 by the end of your senior year. And what that usually means is in a freshman year, students will have you can't essentially get lower than a 3.1 and still get to a 3.5 by your senior year. And so if I see students who are getting too close to something, particularly in the first 2 years, that's 3.1 or 3.0, I'll send out an email to let students know, you might have difficulty actually fulfilling this requirement. You want to make sure you stay in the program. But the actual expectation is you have to have a 3.5 by the time you graduate.
So I do have another question.
Great.
And this one might be geared more towards Michaela, it might be geared towards you, Shawnee. So I had a student who is in the honors program, but they were not signed up for a honor star session. Is there a way that we can bump them up? Are we concerned that honors courses might fill up pretty quickly? What's your thoughts on that?
Michaela should weigh in on this too, because this is in part an admissions question. So honor students were encouraged to register last week, or actually I think it was earlier this week, right? The 18th and 19th, I think was the registration date. Since COVID-19, I feel like every week is a month long. So things that happened on Monday feel like they happened a month ago. Anyway, there's no requirement, first of all, that you have to register early. It's just something honor students are allowed to do. I'm not especially worried about honor students not getting into an honors class their first semester, because you have the rest of your college experience to take 12 credits, right? It's only 4 classes. And if you end up taking one of those lab classes, that's 5 credits, you could in theory get the whole 12 credits done in 3 classes. And that's 3 classes over the course of 4.5 years, right? Depending on how long you're at UWSP. So I wouldn't especially worry I don't know if it's someone in this call or just someone you're friends with, but if they aren't able to get into an honors class this next semester, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Michaela, the way this might be of interest to admissions is, can a student who has a star date change their date? I don't know how admissions deals with that.
That's a great question. Currently, we are capped out for the honor dates, and those advising sessions have already happened this week. And so I think that's the unfortunate aspect of that. But either way, you wouldn't have been able to swap at this point in time because they have been full. The one thing I would keep in mind is that in reality, I think the earliest date that you could move to is June 18th yet. And so that's the one thing to kind of factor into that middle part of the month. I really think, to kind of echo what Shawnee said, is that I wouldn't worry too much about those classes and that filling up. Your academic advisor will have alternative plans for you. There's no you absolutely have to have this class your first semester kind of thing. That's really going to offset your track for the next 4 years that you're going to be at UWSP. So I have full confidence in your academic advisor kind of navigating that. And then also I think those are the only dates that you can change up to, is the June 18th one, as I have been signing students up. And so if you are later than June 15th and you want to bump up, that's definitely an option. You can also change that on your end. You do not have to do that with the Office of Admissions. If you go on Access Point, you can technically opt into a different date if you want to play around with that. That's totally something you can go in and navigate on your own as well. And also with other honor students, so we've only had 120 spots for each date that we offered. And so there's a good number of honor students who aren't technically in those dates. So you're not alone if that is your situation also. Any other questions from the group?
I have another one.
Dylan, how are you seeing these questions? Are they privately texting you?
Listen, people, I draw people to me.
You are going to be president of the United States.
So is the Honors Ambassador Program, is that a yearly thing? Do you select new ambassadors each year? How does that kind of work?
Right now, the program is just for incoming students, so it's just for freshmen. And it's every year, but next year, obviously, you won't be first-year students anymore. This year, we had actually discussed having first-year and second-year students, adding some sophomores to it. But we needed to make that decision about 4 or 5 months ago. And I don't know if you remember what 4 or 5 months ago were like. We were not sure what was going to happen next semester. We weren't sure what was happening to classes, if things were going to be canceled. It was such a crazy time that we thought, well, why don't we just keep the program the same for fall 2020, and then around December 2020, we'll make a decision on next year. The reason I'm telling you all that is to say there's a pretty good chance that we will invite some sophomores into that program next year, and that would be you all. So if that happens, you'll see an email from me around that time. It would be probably December 2020 or January 2021, letting sophomores know that they are invited to apply. So yeah, look for that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, like I put in the chat, if you all have any questions, you can private message myself or Sierra. We're more than willing to ask them on your behalf. You know, it's kind of scary when you're in a group of people you don't know and you're talking to Johnny, Sierra, Michaela, myself. We're kind of scary people, just a little bit. But yeah.
A general question about like the activities that honor students do. Like, could you just elaborate on like what kind of activities, like how many activities per year, like just stuff like that? I was really curious about that.
They've changed a little bit every semester and every year. Like that, the evolutionary biologist who came, that was just the biology department happened to be bringing this guy to our campus, and so I jumped on that opportunity. So it wasn't a predictable kind of event. Last year, I think there were just maybe 3 or 4 events, including that bowling party. This year, my goal is to do at least one event a month where honor students have an opportunity just to socialize or get together in some way. We did a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, honor students did like an ice cream social. So I have a little bit of money, a tiny, tiny pot of money for ice cream and for hot cocoa and for coloring books, board games. The library also have a lot of that stuff. And so we sort of threw a little end of the year party for honor students just to get together, have some cocoa and eat cookies and play some board games together. So I've done some of that stuff myself, but this year I want to try to get an honors group, like a little committee together that might plan those events and help me come up with future events and promote it to other students. This is the biggest group of honor students we've ever had. Your incoming class is doubling the size of the honors program in its 4th year by yourselves. There are 300 current honor students and there are 300 of you coming. And so that's really exciting for me. There's going to be a lot more honor students, a lot more opportunities, but also I'm going to want to solicit your help and advice for what kinds of stuff we can do. Sophia, are you interested in possibly joining a committee?
Oh, of course. Of course. I love doing that stuff.
Look for an email from me, probably in August.
Got it. I'll be looking.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking for a couple of people who just want to kind of get together with me and think about just planning other kinds of events, things we could do together. That bowling party is the biggest one, and I have to say the reason we get to do that is because the chancellor pays for it. He rents buses, brings them to campus, and loads you all up and drive to a bowling alley and pays for the food and drink. Most of the stuff is just kind of an opportunity to get together on campus and kind of have fun together. Just hang out.
Shawnee, are those activities only for the freshman honor students, or are all honor students invited to those?
That's a really good question. The bowling party last year was just for the incoming class. So it was just an opportunity for the incoming group to get to know each other. The other events were for everybody. And so that the honors committee could decide to do a little bit of both, could do 1 or 2 events just for the incoming cohort, as well as a couple of events where we invite everybody. These are fantastic questions.
I have another question for you. Sierra, you got to pick up the slack. Come on.
Hey, now I'm working over here.
So the presentation that you gave, is that going to be publicly or accessible to everyone? Is the information in the presentation, is that on like a website someplace? Where can they find like all of the information that you presented?
That is also a great question. Yes, there is an honors website. Let me go over to it. There it is. All right, I'll share my screen one more time. So let's see. All right. Are you looking at, does it say University Honors Program on your screen?
Yep.
Excellent. So University Honors Program is at uwsp.edu/UColl, short for University College, /honors program. That's all you have to type in. This would pop up. You could also just type UWSP honors program. You'd probably find it as well. So this is the main page for the program. I'm going to admit that person. Right now, it just has the basic, it has a couple of the things I've just talked about, but not everything. Some of the features of the honors program, like the 12 credits, is a rule that was just changed about 2 weeks ago. It used to be a lot more complicated, and it was a lot harder for honor students to figure out if they completed it or not. So we just set a flat number. You have to just get to 12 credits. So I'm going to update this page, this University College honors page, over the summer with all of that information. What the expectations are, the GPA, the credit requirement, the other possible activities. That's my summer job. So I wasn't going to put up the PowerPoint. I was just going to have the information there. Although a lot of that stuff is actually there. There are pictures of some of those events. If you kind of browse around on that page, you'll see that stuff. And of course, you can always email me. My email address is, it's on that page. It's sluft@uwsp. You're welcome to email me anytime.
To kind of echo off of that, after this webinar, I will be sending out a follow-up email to you all, and I'll include a hyperlink to that website. I actually have a note on here to make sure to include that honors program website, and I also have Shawnee's contact information in there as well. So we'll make sure to share that so you can click on it and make it a little bit easier for you. Any other questions?
Sierra, you should just make up a question.
Do you guys want to know like about other stuff besides just honors? Like, I know honors is the main reason you're here, but if you have any questions in general, you have 2 current students here, you have faculty here that can answer any questions. If you're worried about anything at all, this is your time to ask any questions.
I mean, not her. I'm just kidding.
Awesome. Well,
Ice cream flavors, that's a fantastic question. When I was a college student, I worked in 2 different ice cream chains. One is Friendly's, which doesn't even exist here. Is there anyone in this call from the East Coast? Am I the only person? At least Michaela lived on the East Coast. Friendly's is like Culver's on the East Coast, but they don't do soft serve ice cream. So I worked there. I worked at Baskin Robbins. I'm not even sure if they have that here either. I love mint chocolate chip. Anything with peanut butter. Anything else we can help you with? Anything you want to know? Are you excited?
Very excited. I'm so excited.
I am really excited for the next semester to begin. One of my favorite things about being a professor, I was a high school teacher 25 years ago. So I've been a high school teacher or college professor for a long time. My favorite thing about September is you can start fresh. It always feels like no matter what happened last year or how badly things got out of control, you get a new shot to kind of start over. You meet new people and new professors. That is my favorite thing about university. I love that as a student. I still love that as a professor and as an employee. That you get fresh office supplies, new pens and pencils, new binders, and you get to kind of start off with new ideas. And so that's part of the reason I'm excited about the honors program is it's always a different program because there's always new students in it. So the program is basically what you all make of it. And yeah, that's what I'm going to want your help with over the next couple of months, figuring out how we're going to plan events for you all to make this a cool experience.
I just have like a general question. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the honors program, but it has to do with that welcome week. I kind of asked Keegan about it a little bit, but I wanted everyone's perspective on it. Like, what is welcome week and like, what do you do during welcome week? Like stuff like that.
Good question. So yeah, welcome week is like your introduction to the university. There's going to be a ton of different events for you to do, time for you to get to meet other people. Ultimately, it's just a way for you to kind of adjust to living in the residence halls, to being at UWSP, and to connect with people before you dive into classes. Personally, welcome week for me was probably the best experience I had in my entire college career, both years, freshman and sophomore year, just because it allowed me to not have to worry about school while still being a college student. So I could go off and interact with my friends and play volleyball and do all of that fun stuff that, college has to offer, without having to do the stressful schoolwork type stuff there. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff for you to go off and do and try new things and, put yourself out there. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Right now, it's still kind of up in the air. We're waiting to hear how things go over the next couple of months to determine how Welcome Week's going to look. But as long as we're in person in the fall, I can assure you that we'll have a full-fledged Welcome Week. So,
like, is that Welcome Week? Like, I was looking at the academic calendar for like this next coming semester, and our classes start on a Wednesday. So would that Welcome Week go through that entire first week?
Yeah, so you would move in on, what is it?
29th of August.
Yes, you move in that date, and then it goes basically until that, I think that Tuesday, right? That's when, or sometime. It basically goes right up until the day that classes start. So, yeah. Basically a week or so, 5 days to explore and do different things.
I would recommend during that time going and walking to every single one of your classes so you don't get lost on your first day. Just a little tip. It really does make a difference. Just walking around the buildings, getting used to them. I know you don't want to go directly into homework and that mindset right away, but learning your route and walking from like, okay, on Mondays I go from this class to this class, figuring out that pacing is going to be really important.
What were your guys' favorite Welcome Week activities that you've done?
Ooh.
Very good question, Vanessa.
Thank
you, Miss Sophia.
You're welcome.
So there used to, I don't know if they still do this. I haven't been on campus for a year now. But they used to do this ball drop where we would partner with the fire department and they would basically just light up bouncy balls on you in the middle of the dark. I like to describe it as like, has anyone seen Game of Thrones out there?
Of course.
Yeah. But you know how like in the Battle of Winterhold, I think that's what it's called, right? Is that it?
Winterfell.
Up Skyrim and Game of Thrones now. So in the Battle of Winterfell, when like the zombies kind of come flooding at the
oh yeah,
just like bouncy balls. I think that was my best or my favorite memory of Welcome Week activities.
With that, they used to also like put X's on certain bouncy balls. It was like out of the thousands that they were dropping, they would drop like one that was worth like $100 and you would get like a little like gift card. And my one friend, our freshman year, she ended up winning it, but she got a bouncy ball directly to the eye and it was worth it. She got the $100. But one of the really cool things during Welcome Week that I always enjoyed was the vendors fair. So they would set up this huge tent outside and all the different organizations on campus and also different places in town would set up little shop, or not really a shop, but a table, and they'd hand stuff out. So it was great. So much free stuff, free popcorn, free like movie vouchers, different things like that. If you got there early enough, you could get a t-shirt. I still did this my sophomore year. I almost did it my junior year. Like I would go just for the free stuff.
I heard that like there was like this event where like students could go to Target like after hours and go do stuff. Like that sounds so cool.
Also, just a sidebar to answer a question that was in the chat. I recommend planning for in-person classes in the fall. I would plan and act as if everything was normal, and then kind of go from or go off of any emails or notifications that you get at a later date. I believe we're waiting until around July 4th to make a concrete decision on what we're doing. So I would look out for more information on whether or not we're going to be online, if we're going to be in person for the fall around that date.
I'm really glad you said that date because I was about to ask you in a private message, Dylan, because someone asked me that as well. But one thing to keep in mind is that I am pretty confident. I feel like the university is really hoping to have that in-person classes in the fall. So really plan on that. Still plan for your move-in date. We're really striving towards that, and I think we're making, hopefully, proactive measures that will really prepare for that. I know like safety and all of that is a concern, and the university is doing a great job of just coming up with plan A all the way to Z. I feel like there's a lot of different options that they're looking at, and they're willing to work with other students on creating that sense of security for you all as you can come into campus and everything like that. Any other questions for the group?
These are good questions.
I love it. In my last job, I coordinated Welcome Week. So it's one of my favorites. My biggest word of advice for you is to get out of your rooms, go do something, whether that's just walk through an event and grab something that's free food or engage with someone else, have a good moment. I challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. Shawnee, did you have something else?
I did. I'm good. Michaela, I was going to ask you your favorite flavor of ice cream.
I love mint chocolate chip or birthday cake.
Those are excellent choices. How about you, Sierra?
I pretty much anything with pecans
Yeah.
I am completely for. Like butter pecan is my favorite ice cream by far.
Classic. Good choices. You can see you're in good hands. You can tell a lot about a person by the quality of their ice cream choices.
All I need is sprinkles.
That's right. It's great seeing you all. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again. Like I said, I'll follow up with an email. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out. If you haven't done so already, you've signed up for this webinar, but if you want to sign up for future ones and other topic areas, you can always resubmit that form and continue to register for them. But we're excited for the fall, and have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye,
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Michaela, real quick.
Yeah.
Just a question. So regarding my that PowerPoint presentation I made, did you want me to create one for everybody? Like all of this?
That may be helpful. I think they would appreciate that. I've been seeing some, I'm going to stop my recording really quick.